Alright, so this is my assignment 1. It is a turn-based, choice-based haunted house game. So, starting at the very beginning, I start with what is your name, and you put in your name, and then for string manipulation, I reverse the name. So like, the haunted house owner is the reverse of whatever name you put in. And then, what I am very proud of is I've made time pauses, so I can put yes or no if I want the time pause or not. So let's say I put yes. There's actually time pauses and like animations like this. So this is probably what I'm most proud of in my game. With the help of Mr. Miscue, we created a function called print slow, and what it does is it prints like this, like character by character to the console. So, for the sake of making the video, I turned the animations off. But so when you come to the first scenario, you can either leave the room or stay. So I'm gonna stay, which I know makes me die. And so what happened was this line comes up: game over. Would you like to play again, JD? So if we go to my actual code, which is right here, originally I had calling my own function inside the function, which I learned is called recursion. It's very, it's good, but it's also dangerous, as you said. So I figured out how to change this, and this is something that I overcame because it was not working, and I almost wasted a whole weekend trying to fix this. So when this comes up, would you like to play again? While start over equals or is not equal to yes, not equal to no, it's invalid, and so you can go again. And so I made every single option in this game. If you don't do it the right way, like if you put an integer in a float, or if you don't put yes or no, you have to input something that's valid. And then if it's no, I return false to the function, which at the very end, my start over equals game. So my start over, which is no, equals the game, or false. And so what that does is it allows it to just exit. So like right here, if I put no, thanks for playing, process finished. But if I went again, if I go again, but with no time pauses, and I died, but then I said yes, it returns true up here, because it can go through the string and see if the word is yes, and then if it is, it returns true. So when I put return true, it just starts right over from the beginning. And then as we keep going through the game, what I'm really proud of is when my battle scenes. So if I fight the spirit, there is no time pauses right now, but that's okay. It generates random numbers, and it's all in this while loop. So what it does is the player gets damage of 0 to 10, and then if damage is 0, you missed, and then if it's 1 to 10, you hit them for that much damage. And then same thing with the enemy, but it's 0 to 8 for the sake of making you have better chance of moving on. And then when if you lose, the whole thing comes back up again. Game over, return false, return true. And then if he dies, you move on. This took me a very long time to figure out how to make the battle scene and how to incorporate the random numbers, but eventually I did, and I'm really, really proud of that. But then another thing I'm really, really proud of, if you come back up to the kitchen and you actually stay and search the kitchen, you find duct tape. So I made duct tape equal true. So then if you have duct tape and you survive the battle, the next morning when you wake up next to a metal blade and a metal plate. But this only happens if you have duct tape. And so then you can either make armor or a sword. And so what that does is next time you go to a battle, like the next battle you can is the Black Leopard, what happens is if you have a sword, instead of doing 0 to 10 damage, you do 5 to 15. And then if you have armor, you just have more health. You have 25 more health. And the enemy does less damage. Instead of 5 to 15, it's 5 to 13. Because you're just more resistant to damage. And then I did leopard if you didn't have duct tape. So I think the biggest challenge overall of this whole assignment for me was having to incorporate every single situation. Like, if you had a sword, it's a completely different battle than if you didn't have a sword, or if you had armor, or if you had nothing. So that was my hardest problem, because like one thing would be tabbed in or not tabbed enough, and then if I had a sword, it would go right into if I had armor, even though it's not true. And then finally, in my game, when you go downstairs, which is like the very last step, and you try to go left, if you have the key, it makes it so you just unlock the door and you go outside and you escape. But if you don't have the key and you still try to go left, it says the door is locked, which leads into all the other scenarios, like downstairs, right, with duct tape or without duct tape, with sword and duct tape, with armor and duct tape, with nothing and nothing. And there's about 6 or 7, I think there's 7 different scenarios down here. And so one of my biggest accomplishments was actually getting all these scenarios to work, because at first I had everything from here down tabbed in. So what happened was, when it was a logic error, because when I got here, it looped back all the way up to the first battle scene, which wasn't what was supposed to happen. So eventually I got it all, and all the scenarios went down after lots of commenting and labeling. Like, false for me, downstairs false means you went upstairs first and then downstairs, whereas if you go up to the top of downstairs true means you just skipped upstairs and went straight downstairs. So I fixed all these different scenarios, and yeah, this was my game. And at the very end, it says, when you escape, it says you did it, you actually did it, and the print slow for the spooky effect, and it says you escaped the haunted house, and then it returns false, and thanks for playing. That's the end.